Think of someone you know well, maybe a close friend, a relative, or someone you grew up with who is entirely missing from social media. No Instagram photos, no Facebook activity, no TikTok videos, no daily stories. Maybe they have an account somewhere, or maybe they never even created one. And whenever you ask them about it, they usually respond with some variation of the exact same explanation. I simply do not feel any real need for it. It is just not something that appeals to me. I would rather keep my personal life to myself. And you listen and nod, yet deep down, a small part of you cannot help but wonder what is truly going on with them. Are they trying to hide something? Are they unhappy? Are they extremely introverted? Or do they understand something the rest of us, constantly scrolling, posting, and carefully shaping our online image, still fail to see? Because this is what I have come to realize. A person who chooses not to post on social media is not merely someone who never bothered to install the apps. They are functioning within a psychological mindset that differs deeply from what most people experience today. And once you begin to understand what that mindset truly is, you may start questioning everything about your own connection to the screen you carry around every single day. Let us begin by looking at what posting on social media really means on a psychological level. Most people believe they post in order to share memories, stay in touch with others, or document important moments in their lives. And to some extent, that is true. But psychological research reveals a far more complex reality. A study published in the journal Computers and Human Behavior found that one of the strongest motivations behind social media activity is what psychologists describe as impression management, the deeply human desire to shape the way other people see us. Every picture we upload, every caption we create, every story we decide to share becomes a carefully designed signal to the outside world about who we are, what kind of life we live, and how we wish to be perceived. We are not simply sharing experiences, we are constructing an identity. And in return, we are often searching for something else: validation, connection, relevance, reassurance that we exist and that our lives carry meaning in the eyes of other people. Now, this is where people who never post on social media become psychologically fascinating. In one way or another, whether consciously or without even realizing it, they have stepped outside of that entire system. And the reasons behind it usually fit into several clear psychological patterns. The first is what researchers describe as a strong need for privacy and personal autonomy. Some individuals possess an exceptionally deep sense of boundaries when it comes to their inner world and private experiences. For them, posting a picture does not feel like sharing something meaningful. It feels like exposing a part of themselves. It can feel as though they are giving something personal to an audience that has done nothing to truly deserve access to it. These are often people with a very stable internal sense of identity who do not depend on external approval in order to feel confident about who they are. They already know what they experienced during their vacation. They do not need hundreds of likes to reassure themselves that the experience had value. The second psychological profile is connected to social anxiety and the fear of being judged. And this is far more widespread than most people imagine. For many individuals who never post, it is not that they have no desire to share, it is that the vulnerability involved in sharing feels genuinely dangerous. What if nobody reacts? What if the post gets ignored? What if people criticize the picture, the place, or the lifestyle being shown? The possibility of public rejection, even in a subtle digital form, is enough to keep them completely silent online. So instead, they observe, they scroll endlessly, they consume content, but they rarely participate. Because participating means becoming visible, and becoming visible means opening yourself up to evaluation. And for their nervous system, that risk simply feels too great to take. The third profile is perhaps the most psychologically developed of them all. These are individuals who have cultivated what researchers refer to as independence from external validation. Studies based on self-determination theory suggest that human beings possess fundamental psychological needs for competence, connection, and autonomy. Most people on social media satisfy their need for connection and recognition through posting content and receiving reactions from others. But those who fall into this third category have discovered ways to fulfill those same needs entirely outside the digital world through meaningful relationships, purposeful work, and a strong internal identity that does not depend on having an audience watching them. They are not disconnected from social media because something is lacking within them. They are disconnected because they have discovered something far more fulfilling and lasting than online approval. There is something the research makes increasingly clear, and it is worth reflecting on for a moment. A major study conducted by the University of Pennsylvania found that limiting social media use to just 10 minutes a day produced noticeable reductions in loneliness and symptoms of depression. Another study showed that passive social media behavior, endlessly scrolling without actively engaging, was consistently associated with lower well-being, greater social comparison, and increased feelings of envy. And in many cases, the people who choose not to post are also the people who are not constantly consuming content either. By stepping away from that endless cycle of comparison, they may be protecting their mental health in ways they do not even consciously recognize. There is one final point that deserves attention. In a world where the pressure to constantly perform your life online has become stronger than ever, where meals are photographed before they are eaten, where vacations are organized around capturing perfect images, and where experiences are increasingly filtered through screens instead of truly lived in the moment. Choosing not to post online is quietly becoming one of the most powerful acts of psychological self-preservation available today. It is a way of saying, this moment belongs to me. I do not need to broadcast it for it to matter. I do not need strangers to validate my existence in order to know my life has meaning. The people who stay silent on social media are not necessarily missing out on life. In many respects, and research increasingly supports this idea, they may have already understood something the rest of us are still struggling to learn, that a life fully lived does not require an audience watching it. If today's video gave you value, hit like and share it with someone. Thank you for staying with me until the end.